In this video, we will learn about component lifecycle in functional components. Let's begin with understanding what is component lifecycle. Every React component goes through a series of stages from the time it appears on the screen until it is removed. These stages are called the component lifecycle. In simple terms, a component has three main phases. The first one is when it is created and shown on the screen. Second, when it updates due to the changes in data. Third, when it is removed from the screen. In older class-based React, these were handled using special lifecycle methods. In modern React with functional components, all these phases are handled using the useEffect hook. A React component has three main lifecycle phases: mounting, updating, and unmounting. Let's understand each. First, we will see mounting phase. Mounting means when the component is created and displayed on the screen for the first time. This is when we usually fetch data from an API, load user information, set up subscriptions, and initialize values. In functional components, mounting is handled using useEffect with an empty dependency array. For example, useEffect console.log component mounted. Because the dependency array is empty, this effect runs only once, when the component is first rendered. Next, we will see updating phase. Updating happens when state changes and props change. Whenever a component updates, React re-renders it. After the re-render, useEffect can run again if its dependencies have changed. For example, useEffect console.log count changed. Count. Here the effect runs when the component first loads. It runs again every time the value of count changes. This is how we handle the updating phase in the functional components. Lastly, we will see unmounting phase. Unmounting happens when a component is removed from the screen. For example, while navigating to the another page, hiding a component and closing a model. When a component unmounts, we must clean up timers, event listeners, and subscriptions. In useEffect, this is done by returning a cleanup function. For example, useEffect console.log component is first mounted, return console.log component is unmounted. Here the function inside return runs when the component is removed. Let's see the lifecycle flow diagram to understand it better. First component is created, mounting phase occurs, component rendered, updating phase happens if state or props change, and unmounting phase happens when removed. Let's see an example to understand full life cycle. First, we will import two React hooks. Use state for managing state, use effect for handling side effects like timers. This one defines a functional React component named timer, and it creates a state variable. Here, second holds the current time value, set second is the function to update it, and initial value is 0. This one starts the side effect hook. This block runs after the component renders. It prints a message in the browser console when the timer starts. This helps in understanding when the effect runs. And this one creates a repeating timer using JavaScript set interval. This line updates the state every second. Prev is the previous value of seconds. We increment it by 1. This form ensures we always use the latest state value. And here the interval runs every 1000 milliseconds, that is 1 second. This starts the cleanup function. It runs when the component is removed or before the effect runs again. This one stops the timer. This prevents the interval from running in the background. This line logs a message when the component unmounts, and it ends the cleanup function. Empty dependency array means effect runs only once when the component loads, and cleanup runs when the component unloads. This renders the UI, displays the current time value from the state, and updates automatically every second. It ends the component definition. Export the component so it can be used in the other files like app.js. And this is the output of the program. To understand this full life cycle in a better way, we will see one conceptual flow. Here it is. First component loads, use effect runs, timer starts, state updates every second, component re-renders, component is removed, cleanup runs, and finally timer stops. This single example demonstrates state management, side effects, continuous updates, cleanup logic, and real-time UI rendering. It is one of the best practical examples to understand use effect in React. From the interview point of view, you can describe this component as: this component starts a timer when it mounts using the use effect, increments the state every second with the set interval, and cleanups the interval when the component unmounts to prevent the memory leaks. This is exactly how real production timers are built in React. Let's summarize this video. In functional components, mounting is handled by useEffect with an empty dependency array. Updating is handled by useEffect with dependencies. Unmounting is handled using the cleanup function inside useEffect. This makes useEffect the single tool that replaces all lifecycle methods from class components.
Scan the QR code for source code.
In the next video, we will learn about the cleanup with useEffect.